Right. Very interesting. Well, I would think, yeah, once you've come across this, I mean, it would be like, finding a treasure map or something. It would be hard if I were you and to have the insights that you're having, where you wouldn't want to go explore where that actual treasure is just to point other people to the treasure. Doesn't seem like enough. I mean, I would think you would want to have tried to have done this yourself.
I am doing it myself, but also I recognize that there's a karmic aspect to this as well. And so I have viewed myself, the service that I provide for people, I'm not a preacher, I'm a teacher. I'm a person who researches this material and presents it to others and sources that material for others. And so for me, this has been how I've been operating for the past 10 years or so, but now more and more, as I'm acquiring more knowledge about this, I'm feeling perhaps more comfortable to start perhaps suggesting ways that people can begin this process, imagine it, believe it, live it, and also getting into more detail in terms of meditations. I just did a profound workshop with Tom Kenyon, who is a sound healer, who walked us through this whole process, Ian, in an incredible way. And when I'm watching Tom's work, he's a psychotherapist, he's a brain scientist, he's a musician. He brought all this material together and took us through a big chunk of this process in terms of raising our personal energy. It was profound. And I felt as if for the first time in my life, I mean, I've lectured with the best of the best these past 10 years, and Tom Kenyon is way beyond anybody else I've ever experienced because of what he was able to make us feel inside of our bodies. That is a true master. That's a true art, and I recognize that that's not me. My service is elsewhere.
Yeah, that's very good. Well, and so we were talking about the rod. I don't think we got around much talking about the ring as much, or for that matter, how they tie into the early art, because the rod and the ring are ubiquitous up to a certain point in Christian iconography.
Here's the tie-in. In especially ancient Sumerian, Iranian, Babylonian art, you'll see gods, divine beings, who are portrayed holding a ring in their hand. They call that ring the ring of cosmic sovereignty. And what that means to me is that being is free to do or go just about anywhere it wants to go. And the key thing here for me is I think there's a bit of a pun. When they're portrayed holding a ring, it's sort of like a wedding ring is symbolic of something else. And I think that ring is actually symbolic of a vibration that they hold, a ring that they have, a cosmic ring or vibration that puts them in tune with all the cosmic forces. It enables them to manipulate those cosmic forces, just like Jesus did with the rod when he is portrayed performing the miracles with a rod. The rod and the ring perform the same function.
And yet that whole, it brings us back to that picture, the many pictures of Jesus with holding that rod and doing something which is life-changing, almost sort of a nuclear in the way in which it comes. It's sort of an atomic level. You have all this transformation that takes place at the end of that stick, at the end of that rod.
Yes, at even the molecular level. I mean, I'm viewing Jesus as a person who is so in tune with the universe that he could manipulate matter itself.
And is there any other work other than the Gnostics that back this up? I mean, do you still... Are there other groups on the planet today that practice this? Are there any? I mean, you mentioned the Tibetans, but I mean, who else is doing it? Seemingly so easy to access it. Somebody's got to be doing it.
Well, yeah, we're kind of going about it in a different way. I mean, I think that the people that are practicing this today are at places like Fermilab in Batavia, Illinois, the particle accelerator near Chicago.
Right.
I think they're the high energy physicists, the high priests of high energy physics at CERN. I think that we're going about it in this way because we think that we need to have technology as our aid, but I don't know if that's necessarily so.
Well, I mean, but the ancients who did it weren't the ancient scientists. They were the ancient practitioners of religion or of mysticism. So I guess I'd say, aren't there any religious cults other than scientists which, you could argue have their own sort of cultic beliefs. But, I mean, where they're actually doing anything like this, that they don't need the billions of dollars that it takes to build a new accelerator.
The Tibetans still practice the great perfection. I mean, it's been in modern times, up until the 1940s and 1950s, we're told that witnesses have seen Tibetan lamas transform themselves into vortexes of energy. So this isn't something that's going on in the ancient world. It's going on today. And in fact, the Dalai Lama proclaims that this is the latent capability within all sentient beings, and has the hope in his heart that these teachings will become popular in the West.
I'd like to see that on a videotape. I'd like to see that. I really would. I mean, if you can't travel there, you'd think they'd be selling those, because that'd be something I would pay cash money to watch.
The Last Mimsy is an incredible movie that's out right now. I had a line in my book, Blue Apples, about Rennes-le-Chateau. I wrote it back in 2000 about these extraterrestrial blue stones that can be used to open holes in space and transfigure humans into beings of light. And it was 3 sentences in that book. And when I went to see the movie The Last Mimsy, I saw my sentences brought to life by the magic of Hollywood, and was absolutely blown away, because these kids in this movie get a hold of some blue stones that came from a future civilization, times travelers, and they used it to open holes in space and to dematerialize their bodies into light.
And that was what was in your book. Did they actually use any words from your book?
They didn't use any words. I mean, this happens to me a lot. I have Hollywood writers tell me that they use my stuff, and it's cool by me. I've consulted with actors before, and it's just something that I really enjoy doing. And I can't claim that The Last Mimsy has utilized those sentences from my book, but I did write about those same set of symbols.
Interesting. We'll come back coming up for our last hour with William Henry. We're going to open up all the phones. We'll give you all the numbers. And I'm not sure where this is going to go. William, do you see a particular way that you hope this last hour will go, a direction perhaps of questions or of your research?
Yeah, I mean, I would love to talk just a little bit more about what's going on at CERN and the search for the God particle, and why it's important for us to have a spiritual basis for this transformation that we're all undergoing right now.
That's good that you said that, because we did mention that earlier in the hour that we would get back to the God particle, and we didn't. So we'll lead off the next hour doing that, and we'll give you all your numbers for you to join the conversation, too, with William Henry on Coast to Coast AM. This is Ian Punnett. We're talking with William Henry, author of, let's see if I get my whole sheet here. Is it just the one book, William?
Actually, I have written 13 books.
Okay, well, see, all they have is one on my page.
The most recent one, the Starwalkers and the Dimension of the Blessed, is my new book, latest book anyway.
Okay, and you can find the others still available on what, like Amazon or?
On WilliamHenry.net.
Okay, you can go up there and link up to him anytime you want through coasttocoastam.com, and, of course, the DVDs for sale. Speaking of which, have you heard of a new movie called Bloodline?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to be interviewing the producers of the film on Dreamland next week.
Oh, are you? I wondered about that, because they asked me to ask you about their movie and about their research.
Oh, that's nice of them. Yeah, I actually met them when I was in Rennes-le-Chateau, and just immediately hit it off for them. They're kindred spirits for sure.
So tell me about this movie just a little bit, not to take anything away from what you're doing, and I want to get back to the God particle, but this is a nonfiction movie, or this is okay?
Yes, it's a nonfiction movie about some recent discoveries that have been made in Rennes-le-Chateau of some actual relics and parchments.
Okay, and have you had a chance to investigate any of them yourself?
No, not yet.
Okay, because they would seemingly be kind of right up your alley here.
Absolutely.
Remote camera moved around the tomb, found open chests with jewels.
Mm-hmm.
They found some a codex, a badly rotted book of some sort. They don't know what it is. They found a shrouded body in one of these tombs. And I guess tombs, you'd expect to find a body, but I mean, I don't know a whole lot about it. I just know that they were doing research, and they were going back and forth, and you can find out more at their website. I think, I don't know what it is here just Google Bloodline, the movie, and I'm sure you'll link up to it. But the producer is going to be releasing this movie coming up, and I'm sure he'll have a great show with them. Okay, so